So the coronavirus pandemic has been absolutely awful. But one thing that has come out of it that has been a positive is actually increased leverage in the direction of workers. There's currently a labor shortage going on right now because of coronavirus. I guess people are just not interested in working these shit labor jobs as there's a pandemic going on. A lot of people got kids and other responsibilities to take care of. So now there's more leverage in the direction of these workers. And, I don't know about where you guys live. Let me know in the comments. For me, anywhere almost any business I go to, you just see on the front, we're hiring. So clearly there's a labor shortage. There's a high demand for labor. So obviously, raising wages would be the way to entice workers here. But this is a really cool story here. It says more than 100,000 workers threaten strikes as unions flex muscles. Workers in various industries nationwide are threatening to go on strike in a sweeping effort to secure higher pay and better working conditions. More than 100,000 unionized employees, between Hollywood production crew members, John Deere factory workers, and Kaiser Permanente nurses, have overwhelmingly voted to authorize strikes and are preparing to join the picket line unless they get stronger collective bargaining agreements. Thousands are already on strike, including 2,000 New York hospital workers, 700 Massachusetts nurses, and 1,400 Kellogg plant workers in Michigan, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. The wave of strikes comes at a key moment for labor groups, which have steadily lost ground in recent decades amid anti-union legislation and corporate crackdowns on organizing. But with companies now struggling to find employees, unions are finding leverage in their effort to boost frontline wages that have historically been limited due to a steady supply of applicants willing to take lower-paying jobs. In a near unanimous vote Monday, unions representing more than 24K Kaiser Permanente nurses and other healthcare workers in California and Oregon authorized a potential strike after contract negotiations stalled. Roughly 38,000 Kaiser workers have now authorized their union leaders to call a strike if necessary. Kaiser nurses who are protesting pandemic-induced burnout exacerbated by low staffing levels are pushing for 4% annual raises and ramped up hiring. They oppose the company's offer to increase annual pay by 1% over the next 3 years, LOL, and implement a two-tiered system that would pay newly hired workers less than long-tenured employees. So basically, this is what's going on. I mean, pretty much everywhere there's all of these, strikes going on by unions because this is a really good time. And the workers who are working right now are absolutely exhausted. I mean, because of the worker shortage, like if you are to take a job right now, you're going to be in a situation where you're probably working by yourself at the store and have incredible amounts of responsibility, especially because of the coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, there's increased rules and regulations on what can go on in a store, distance that you have to keep between people, and different guidelines you have to follow to maintain cleanliness and sanitization in the area. So people who are working now are absolutely gassed. They are absolutely gassed from all of this pressure going on. And in areas where there's like bus shortages and stuff like that, those people end up getting shit on a lot, even though they're the ones who are working. So, they're subject to harassment from people who maybe can't get on the bus because there aren't enough bus drivers. So it's a shitty situation, but again, this is one of the benefits that we've seen come out of the coronavirus pandemic. You're seeing that there's a shift of power going on towards workers away from big companies. So companies now have to come to the bargaining table and are in a situation where workers are the ones who are leveraged. Imagine if there was a general strike. That would be insane. That would change so much power towards workers because now you have an increased demand for labor and you're now in a position of leverage, right? So you have more ability to negotiate and they're the ones who need you because without workers, none of this stuff can go through. You can't do any of this until automation comes in, that is, right? Which automation will be amazing. People won't have to work these dead-end shit jobs anymore. But this is exactly what has brought power back towards workers. And with the massive decline of unions since I think like Reagan, I think is when the massive decline really started, with all these right to work and all these bullshit laws. It's very cool to see that workers are now having more leverage towards their position to be able to leverage big companies and corporations to actually paying them, good wages. And a lot of these jobs, like working in the Amazon warehouse, you're essentially a slave in that situation. I mean, it's absolutely awful. So a lot of these situations, we're seeing workers are finally getting more power, which is a really cool thing to see, man.